Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ. In this video, I will bring to you an important topic, that is agriculture statistics of India, and I will cover it mainly from the economic survey. This is important for UPSC exam but also for NABARD and Indian Council of Agriculture Research exam. If somebody asks you what is the contribution of agriculture in India, these statistics are very handy. I have also included the largest producer of different crops, and I'll also give you a lot of extra data that will make you very confident going into the ICAR, NABARD and UPSC exams. It will also be very useful for the state PCS exams. Let's start the video. First, let me talk to you directly from the economic survey about the production of major crops in India. Total food grain production in India was how much in the financial year 21? It was 308.6 million ton. What about for financial year 22? It was approximately 316 million ton. And for financial year 23, our target is 328 million ton. Out of the 328 million ton, 163.15 million ton will be for Kharif crops, right? And 164.85 million ton will be for the Rabi crops. So our target for Rabi crops is slightly higher, marginally higher than Kharif crops for the current financial year. And here you can see the breakdown for the food grain production in financial year 21. Here you can see, and again Rabi was marginally higher than Kharif. Rabi was 159 million ton and Kharif was 149 million ton. Let's talk about the largest crop producing states of India. First, let me tell you total food grain. Now, what is the meaning of food grain? In food grain, you have rice, wheat, maize, you have the nutri or core cereals, and you have pulses. Together, these are known as food grains. So, number one was UP. You can see the production of UP, 58 million ton. Second was Madhya Pradesh and third was Punjab. But I strongly urge you to remember only the number one position because there are a lot of crops and it will be very difficult to remember second and third position. So total food grains, if you include all of these, then number one producer in India is UP. What about cereals? So total production of cereals has increased from 242 10 years back to now 282 million ton, right? Cereals. What all comes under cereals? You have rice, wheat, maize, all of this is cereals. Now for all these three cereals, which is the number one producer? So for rice, it is West Bengal. You can see rice, West Bengal produce 16 million ton of rice, which is marginally higher than UP, but still it is number one. And in fact, West Bengal has been number one in rice production for the last few years. Wheat, UP is number one. Here you can see, but UP is number one by quite some distance. You can see second position is Madhya Pradesh in wheat, and UP is almost, in fact, more than double of that. And when it comes to maize, so for maize, Karnataka is number one. It produces 5 million ton of maize. So these are the top producers for rice, wheat, and maize according to the economic survey of 2022. Let's talk about the total first. Okay, so if you include all the nutri or the core cereals, then number one is Rajasthan. Rajasthan with 8.33 million ton of production in the financial year 21. And now let's see individually. So let's see the pulses first. So pulses total production has increased now. It is touching now almost 25.7 million ton. And if in pulses you want to break it down, so tur dal, pulses is dal, right? Tur dal, gram, and total pulses. So tur dal, Maharashtra is the leading producer. Gram, it is Madhya Pradesh, and total pulses is also Madhya Pradesh. So a very important question in the exam is, for pulses, which is the leading producer in India? And the answer is Madhya Pradesh. Now let's take a look at the oil seeds. So oilseed production has also increased now. It is exceeding 36 million ton. And you need to see individually, but also you need to see total oilseed. So individually, let's see groundnut, Gujarat was the leading producer, rapeseed and mustard, Rajasthan, soya bean, Maharashtra, and sunflower, Karnataka. But if you add all of these together, total oilseed production is topped by Rajasthan. So Rajasthan in India is the total oilseeds number one producer. Let's talk about sugarcane and sugar both. So for sugar, it is now Maharashtra, which was the leading producer, but that was for financial year 22. For sugarcane, there is no competition. By far, it is UP. You can see here that almost 70% more production of sugarcane is in UP compared to second position Maharashtra. Is it understood? So sugarcane production was highest in UP for financial year 21, and even for sugar, UP topped for financial year 21, but the story changed for financial year 22 with respect to sugar. Maharashtra leapfrogged UP in the sugar production for financial year 22, but economic survey is always retrospective by 1 year. What about cotton? So cotton production has also increased in India, and number one is Maharashtra. You can see here Maharashtra is number one and Gujarat is number two. So Maharashtra was the leading producer of cotton in the financial year 21 according to the economic survey. Let's talk about jute and mesta. So West Bengal by far almost 80% of India's jute production. Some reports say 70, some say 60, but you got my point. Most of the production of jute and mesta in India is from West Bengal, and India is also the largest producer of jute in the world. Let's talk about potato. So potato production here, let me tell you that UP is the leading producer of potato in India. Potato, wheat, milk, sugarcane, lot of things UP tops in India. Potato is another one. Then plantation crops, tea, coffee and rubber. So let me tell you the state that topped. So tea, it is always Assam, coffee is always Karnataka, and rubber is always Kerala. Second is Tamil Nadu in rubber. In fact, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they together contribute more than 85% rubber production in India. So rubber is always Kerala, coffee is Karnataka and tea is Assam. Now let's take a look at some other important statistics. We are done with the leading producer of different important crops, etc. Now let's take a look at the contribution of agriculture. So agriculture and allied activity. What is allied sector? For example, agroforestry, apiculture, honey bees rearing, sericulture or silkworm rearing, all of these are allied sectors. Fisheries sector, dairy sector. So agriculture and allied sector, they have not been impacted by COVID pandemic. Good news, agriculture and allied sector were one of the least impacted by the COVID. And you can see that in this chart. So this sector is growing steadily, right? And if you see the last 4 years, it is growing more or less at the same rate. And the growth projected for financial year 22 is 3.9%. Now, agriculture and allied sector, they account for 18.8% of the gross value added in financial year 22. 18.8%. This is the contribution, and more or less it remains at around 18%. So if somebody asks you that what is the contribution of agriculture in India's GVA, you say more or less it is 18%. It is hovering last 10 years, it is more or less the same. Is it clear? Now livestock sector. So livestock sector in India has grown at almost 8.15% over the last 5 years. This is the compound annual growth rate, 8 point annualized, right? So some year it might grow more, some less, but annualized it is 8.15%. That is seen here also, right? So it is 8.15%. And even pulses, oilseed, cotton, they are also growing steadily in the last 5 years. Now, higher growth in the allied sector as compared to the crop sector has implications in terms of increasing the importance of the allied sector in total agriculture. Now, this is important. In which sector we have more growth? If you see the last almost 10 years, you see that the share of the allied sector as a percentage is increasing more than the share of the crop sector. Crop sector is mainly about just growing crops, right? But if you see livestock, if you see forestry, if you see fishing, aquaculture, it is growing far more, as it can be seen from this chart. And this is important also because livestock, fishing, forestry, they provide much more secure returns to the farmers because they are not dependent on rainfall, for example. And farmer has much more stable income for livestock, dairy and these things. Also, farmer can make much more money in these sectors. That is why government is promoting sericulture, apiculture. Now we see a lot of honey FPOs are opening up, honey processing plants are opening up. So allied activities need to be increased in India, for better income. What about the net sown area? So net sown area has increased in the last 15 years. If you see in 2006, it was approximately 127 million hectare, but today it is 156 million hectare. This is the net sown area in India. However, you will see people saying that the net sown area is decreasing. It's not the case. Government in the economic survey says that the net sown area has actually increased from 127 15 years back to now 156.8. Gross capital formation in agriculture is also steady. The public investment has remained stable. As you can see, the public investment is stable, but private investment is kind of fluctuating in agriculture. Now, the total food grain production, I already told you, 308.65 million ton, and it was higher compared to 2020 financial year. The production of rice, wheat, coarse cereals has actually increased much more. And this is the area under Kharif and Rabi crop. These are the advanced estimates. You can see that wheat and rice production is continuously increasing, and so is the area under Kharif crops. However, the area under Rabi crops took a little bit of a downturn in the financial year 22. Here you can see it was going up for the last 3 years, but in financial year 22, the area under Rabi crops is decreased a little. Edible oil. So India's oil seeds production, you can see that it is on the up. So 10 years back it was 29, now it is 36. It decreased a little till 2015, but then since it has picked up. And this may be because of the Tilhan mission, the oilseed mission that the government of India has undertaken. India is the world's second largest consumer and the largest importer of vegetable oils, right? And we have to import lot of vegetable oil. So you can see here the production and import of the oil. And 98% of the crude palm oil is imported in India. We don't have crude palm oil in India. We purchase it mainly from Indonesia and Malaysia. Let's talk about the sugar sector. India is the largest consumer and the second largest producer of sugar in the world after Brazil. Average annual production of sugarcane is around 35.5 crore ton, which is used to produce 3 crore ton of sugar. So India is the largest consumer and second largest producer of sugar in the world after Brazil. Brazil is the largest producer of sugar in the world. Now let's talk about agriculture credit or loan that is given for agriculture. It is, the agriculture loan credit that is projected for financial year 22 is 16.5 lakh crore. 16.5 lakh crore. And the government has also announced a 2 lakh crore concessional credit boost to 2.5 crore farmers through the Kisan credit cards. Let's talk about water and irrigation. In India, the net irrigated area is 49% of the total net sown area. This is the net irrigated area, and 40% of the net irrigated area is irrigated by canal and 60% is irrigated by groundwater. Let's talk about the livestock holdings. Now, according to the National Statistical Office 77th round of survey, which was released in December, this is from January to December, it was released somewhere in 2020. The average monthly income of an agriculture household in India is approximately 10,218 rupees. This is important. What is the average monthly income of agriculture household in India? 10,218 rupees per month. And it has increased significantly. So in 2014, it was 6,426 rupees. And this is a little bit worrying that the average size of household ownership has actually declined now. Average size of household ownership. It was 0.725 hectare in 2003 and in 2019 it was only 0.512 hectare. Now let's talk about natural farming. So natural farming is being promoted through a dedicated scheme called Bharatiya Prakritik Krishi Paddhati Program, BPKP, where the farmers are given a financial assistance of 12,200 rupees per hectare for 3 years if they do natural farming. Sweet revolution is picking up, that is honey production. So 500 crore has been allocated for 3 years till financial year 23 for National Beekeeping and Honey Mission. And this is what we call the sweet revolution. We also have National Bee Board in India. And not only honey, we can also get bee wax, bee pollen, propolis, royal jelly, bee venom, etc. These are other commercial products that we can get from rearing of the honeybees. We are exporting honey and exports are increasing at a good rate. Animal husbandry and dairy, it grew at 8.15% in the last few years, right? So livestock sector contributed 4.35% of the total gross value added in the financial year 20. Our egg and meat production is also increasing. India ranks third in the egg production and eighth in the meat production in the world. The per capita availability of egg is 91 eggs per annum. This is availability of egg. 91 eggs are there in India for every person in 1 year. And meat production has also increased steadily. Now it is approximately 8.8 million ton. Let's take a look at the dairy sector. So in India, what is the availability of the milk per gram per day? In India, the per capita availability of milk is 427 gram per day. It is almost touching now half a kg per day per person. India is number 1 in milk production in India. 23% of the global milk production happens in India. Let's talk about fisheries. India is the second largest fish producing country in the world after China, and it contributes about 1.24% to the country's GVA, and it contributes 7.28% to the agricultural GVA. This sector also supports the livelihood of 2.8 crore people. Is it clear? And we also have Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, where our target is to have 22 million metric ton of fish by 2025. By 31st March 2025, we want to have 22 MMT of fish production. And let me also tell you that the dairy sector is the single largest agricultural commodity, contributing 5% to the national economy, and it employs more than 8 crore farmers. Let's talk about farm mechanization. Indian government has a lot of schemes like SMAM or submission on agriculture mechanization, etc. We want to have more machines. Obviously, our mechanization, the penetration of the powered machines is approximately 40 to 45%. And this is the further breakdown in different farm operations, how the machines are used. So for seed bed preparation, 70% work is done by machine. Sowing, planting, transplanting 38%, weeding, interculture 31%, and plant protection and harvesting and threshing 32%. Indian tractor industry is the largest in the world. It accounts for 1/3 of the total global production of tractors, and the farm equipment market in India is increasing steadily. It is expected to reach $12.5 billion by 2022. All the farm equipment, whether it is tractor, whether it is other mechanical farming equipments. Crop residue management, we also want to do crop residue management, like we want to check stubble burning, etc. So there is a scheme called Promotion of Agriculture Mechanization for In Situ Management of Crop. It is running in Punjab, Haryana, UP and Delhi, which are the hubs of stubble burning. For that, government will spend approximately 1800 crore. Food processing sector, it is increasing steadily in India at an annual growth rate of 11.18%. And we are opening a lot of food parks also. There are now 22 mega food parks in India that are operational. There is a dedicated ministry also called Ministry of Food Processing Industries. And 100% FDI is allowed in the food processing sector under the automatic route. So no permission of government is required in the automatic route. So 100% FDI, this has also been done to encourage investment in the food processing sector. Now there are some schemes also. For example, formalization of micro food processing industries, PMFME scheme, and this scheme was started to create new branded products and increase food processing in India, and a lot of new brands have also been created under PMFME scheme. Total outlay is 10,000 crore for this 5-year period. Then we also have Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, where we are opening mega food parks, integrated cold chain and value addition infrastructure. We are also making infrastructure for agro processing cluster. We are creating forward and backward linkages. All of these things we are doing, and for that capital subsidy is given by the government. We also have a top scheme. Now, three most important vegetable, tomato, onion and potato, we want to stabilize their prices. So top scheme makes sure that there is adequate tomato, onion and potato in the markets. So we want to do price stabilization. Then food grain storage. Our total storage capacity was approximately 961 LMT, and out of this, there is a capacity of 144 LMT that has been created under the Private Entrepreneurs Guarantee Scheme. So out of 961 LMT, almost 50% is with Food Corporation of India and 50% is with the state agencies. Over and above that, we have created 144 LMT with the private entrepreneurs. Fertilizers, we give a lot of fertilizer subsidy, and the government is making available all the fertilizer like urea and other fertilizers also. On the phosphatic and potassic fertilizers, we are giving nutrient-based subsidy scheme. We are implementing nutrient-based subsidy scheme. Government is saying we will become self-sufficient in urea by 2025. So this was the agriculture statistics of India for all exams. The basis for this video was economic survey. I hope you liked and enjoyed the video. It might be handy, it might be fruitful in your preparation for UPSC, ICAR and NABARD exam. Thank you for watching this video.